Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am excited to bring you an episode today featuring my beautiful wife, Stephanie. A really heartfelt episode that got to the core of a lot of who she is, what she thinks, and how she lives her life. Some of the things we touched on in this episode were Stephanie's early memories, childhood, family dynamics, and relationships, kind of segueing into mental health battles and personal growth, learning to understand yourself and embracing opportunities around you, what it takes to start your own company and grow it responsibly, so important. She opens up about the biggest challenges she's faced in business and the greatest rewards, the mindset shift of realizing that hard doesn't mean bad, and how learning to see the big picture is shaping her current perspective. We also touch on parenting, how it has influenced her worldview and priorities, and wrap up with a conversation about how marriage has changed her and her outlook in the future. This conversation was really fun, lighthearted, but deep at times, and really gives some meaningful reflection on some of the stuff that we're going through in our life and things that we're working on. So I hope that's encouraging to you, and I hope you enjoy it. Stephanie Roggie, hey.
Hey,
How are you?
doing good.
Good. I know that because we live in the same house, so we have a little bit of time away from the kiddos. So I wanted to get you on. Actually, looking very forward to this format because last time you were on, we kind of did like a meet the wives, but it was more marriage and parenting related. And I want to get to some of that later on in the show. But first and foremost, I want to get people to know you and your story because I think it's pretty fascinating. And you have interesting things, kind of some interesting insights into life. So, yeah, excited to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah. For anybody who wouldn't know you, they can go back and look. You've been on a couple of times, but this is going to be a different dive into kind of who you are, your upbringing and stuff like that. I think that people would be interested to know that. You are an entrepreneur and a business owner, something that maybe most people would know, but not always. I'd like to get into your mindset on that a little bit, and then also your upbringing and what that taught you. You've been through some hard things. You went through a hard move, just a lot of unknowns that you kind of had to grow through. So some fun stuff I thought would be interesting to talk about. So while we have some time, we'll just put it on the record. Also, too, for the girls, I want our girls to be able to kind of have a timestamp of you talking about your life a little bit. So pretty cool. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. That's good because we already ran over all this pretty much. So
Actually, we did not.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just asked this morning if I'd be a guest on the podcast. So here I am.
Such a trooper. Okay, so let's just start out. Can you tell me a little bit about like growing up for you? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty boring. I'm sure most people say that about themselves or think that about themselves. But I was born in Stamford, Connecticut. I was raised there until I was in maybe second grade. So I was probably 7 or 8, I want to say. And yeah, I had a great childhood. I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. And I have a younger brother who is 3 years younger than me. We were a very close-knit family. I have a mom and dad, who I'm very close to. And yeah, my childhood was really great. For those who don't know Connecticut, Stamford is pretty much like a mini New York City. So when we were in elementary school, my parents did feel that it was best to move out of that area. Just the schools at that time, they didn't think were the best fit for me and my siblings. So they moved to Trumbull, which is about a half hour from Stamford. Not a huge move, but it was a big move for my parents. Their whole lives were formed in Stamford. So that was a significant move for them, moving up to Trumbull. So we moved, and that was the majority of my childhood that I remember was in Trumbull. And yeah, I finished elementary school there, did middle school, did high school. And just recently my parents moved out of that house into a condo. So yeah, that was pretty much my childhood.
If there's any awkward pauses throughout this entire podcast, just because I get lost staring at you. So, okay. So you born and raised in Stamford or surrounding areas. Really, I guess Trumbull's not that far from Stamford.
Yeah.
What was your next phase of life? When you look back on your childhood, is there anything that stands out to you as far as like the family unit? Is there anything specific that you guys did that kind of just jumps out to you in your memory?
Yeah. My parents did a great job with us. I love them. They're wonderful parents. Something that stands out in my childhood is we spent a lot of weekends together on our family boat. So my parents have a small boat, and we were pretty much on the lake every Saturday and Sunday together growing up through, elementary, middle school, and even high school. A lot of our weekends were spent boating, and that was a significant part of my life, was time spent with them in a very small setting. So a lot of people describe family quality time at the dinner table every night. And we also had that, but huge quality time that I found with my siblings and my parents was spent on the boat. So I'm really grateful. We learned a lot about each other on the boat. I got to learn a lot, from my dad. He taught me a lot being on the boat, how to operate a boat, but also just about each other. And, sometimes we would get in fights on the boat, and other times we, would laugh and have great times. And so, it's definitely a core memory for me growing up.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck on the confines of the boat. There's no really place to go. It's just quality time.
Right.
Do you feel like that's something that you brought into parenting that you wanted to emphasize?
Yeah, I actually think we've had this conversation. Like, boating was definitely my parents' thing. And I would love to find something like that for our family. I think right now a lot of our summer is spent watching you play softball, which is so fun. And the girls really love to travel. We don't always get to go to all of your tournaments because our daughters are very young, so sometimes it's easier for me to stay home. But yeah, as they get older, I would love to find something, whether it be camping, which I don't know how I would do camping.
Glamping, maybe
more glamping. But I would love to find something where it is a situation that promotes a lot of quality time together. So boating is something that I'm very interested in, as well as traveling. Things where, again, we're like confined together. And
yeah, quality time is massive.
Yeah.
And spending time around parents that can model good behavior and teach you and is super important, especially for little kids.
Right.
Is there any other parts of growing up that you have kind of morphed in your own way into parenting and raising, especially girls?
Yeah, I just feel like I am a very quality time person. So I constantly wanted to be around my parents, wanted to be around my siblings. And so I see that in my daughters. They really love to be with us. Even if we're sitting on the couch and you're on one couch and I'm on the other, Sienna wants us both together with her. And so, just fostering that, that relationship with them and finding things that we like to do together. Again, going back to boating, obviously I spent a lot of time on the boat from a young age, but even when I turned 12, me and my dad went and took a boating course together so I could get my boating license. And I would love to, I showed a lot of interest in boating life, and I would love to see if the girls are interested in something that I can pursue with them. Right now, Sienna loves ballet, and that's something that her and I enjoy every single Monday. We're so excited that it's ballet day. And so, I would love to find what their interests are and, make that into quality time with the family in supporting them in those things.
If you had to kind of summarize your relationship with your dad, what would that look like?
I think my dad is probably one of my best friends. And I think he would agree that I was probably his most difficult child up until this point. We used to fight a lot growing up, middle school and high school. I would probably not say the same thing that I'm saying now. We have very strong personalities and we have very similar personalities. And so growing up, I definitely was the quote unquote problem child. Um,
No.
yeah, I mean, yes, you know that I'm very strong-willed, and yeah, so me and my dad had to work on our relationship. And as I got older and I matured more, our relationship became much better and much more, yeah, like best friends. But yeah, I was definitely not an easy kid. It's typical middle child, second girl. That's why I think I'm so close to our Giada. She's the second girl. I did feel inferior a lot of times to my older sister as I was growing up. And yeah, I have a younger brother. And so I was kind of in between like the firstborn and then the first boy. So yeah, I definitely had some insecurities that way. And I did growing up have a lot of anxiety. Even looking back, I mean, at a very young age, probably 5 years old, I realize now that I was very anxious at nighttime. I remember going to sleep and being super dizzy and feeling that my bed was spinning. And I know now that that's anxiety. And so that happened at a very young age to me, where I had, yeah, a lot of insecure thoughts and, yeah, I didn't really know how to deal with it. And that continued through my years up until high school, college age. And then I was able to, figure out some of those issues. And that's, I think when my relationship with my parents really got great. Not that it wasn't great growing up, but the anxiety that I experienced and being the middle child and some insecurities that I had, yeah, definitely impacted some of my years growing up.
What did it look like to kind of work through some of that stuff? What did that entail? I mean, most of it is just like growing up and understanding what it is and how to deal with it, and that it's kind of part of life and something you have to battle against really on a consistent basis. Because a lot of that is battling our flesh, and the things that in our life we feel are uncontrollable, that lead to stress and anxiety. And the truth is that life is that way. Like, there's so much stress, there's so much pain, there's so much suffering in the world, there's so much interpersonal problems, relationship problems, unexpected tragedies and trauma and all of these things. And we have to be able to work through those somehow. And that can sometimes feel daunting.
Yeah. I think my case was a unique case. There was no quote unquote reason for my anxiety or depression growing up. I just experienced it, and probably more so than the average person. So the average person might be anxious because a test is coming up and they might not know the material and they're really worried about not passing the exam. But I would experience like overwhelming anxiety for no reason. And so it's interesting, when I got to college age, I decided to seek some help, and I did go to a psychiatrist, and they prescribed me an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. And after a few months of taking it, I realized what it felt like to not have anxiety. And it was one of the best feelings ever. Looking back, I definitely found that I had a chemical imbalance in my brain, and taking the medication really helped me. It kind of is my magic pill per se, but a lot of people I know don't have that blessing and have to seek help in many different ways and actively work at their struggles. Obviously, I have to work on my struggles as well, but the medication really, really helped me. And so, yeah, I think there's a big stigma with mental health and with medication in general. I know even with you, sometimes we have this disagreement about medication. However, in my personal opinion and experience, I know everyone is different. It has really helped me.
Yeah. Can you give me the answer to the question about kind of the dynamics of your father that we went over, but apply it to your mother?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit somewhat similar to my dad. Again, growing up, I was able to be very vulnerable with my mother. And so, yeah, I didn't always follow the rules. I was argumentative. And I would take that out on my mom. I think if other moms are listening, we feel that, even young moms, you know, Sienna is able to throw tantrums in front of me because she knows I'm always going to love her. And she can't act out with me versus maybe a babysitter or maybe the grandparents she wouldn't do that for. But yeah, moms are put in this unique position where their children are able to express themselves fully. And I'm sure that I did that growing up. Now as an adult, I feel like me and my mom really have become those best friends, and we're in a different stage of life. And again, I think that happened in college where I really just loved my relationship with my mom. And I could see looking back, okay, that's why she did what she did then. Like, she was dealing with a harder child or a more difficult, strong-willed child. And
yeah. There's so many nuances in parenting where, like, personality differences, man and woman differences, all of these things that come into play. I'm trying to kind of get the delineation between you and your father and you and your mother about, you know, how you would interact and see if there was a lot of differences. And like in my case, like, it was pretty different, but I know that, you know, that's not everybody's experience. So that's interesting to hear that you kind of felt the same kind of relationship with both of them.
Yeah, I definitely was a little more scared of my dad.
Okay.
And so I remember
Probably, yeah. Okay. Yep.
I remember even in elementary school, for instance, I'd be giving my mom a very hard time, and she would tell me, when your father gets home, you know, I'm telling him how you've been treating me today.
That's
and
a tale
I would
as old as
yeah,
time.
I would just keep doing it. And then as soon as I heard the garage door open, I remember just like running up to my bedroom, and I'd like hide under my bed or hide next to my bed. And then I would hear my dad walking up the stairs. He'd open the door, and he was just always very loving and kind and would say, Stephanie, what's going on today?
Yeah.
And I think my dad did have a weak spot for me because he was the middle child. Again, same personality as me.
Sure.
My mom is much more passive. She's probably more like my sister that way, the peacemaker. And so, yeah, my dad could relate more with me.
Yeah.
On that end.
Well, that also matters too, you know, birth order and how you were parented. And I saw a quote recently, and the guy was saying, like, no children are ever parented by the same parents.
Yeah.
Because the truth is that you parent your first child very different than you maybe do your second and your third and so on and so forth. You're a different person. You've had different experience. You have different skills. You know what works. You know what doesn't work a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's interesting because, yeah, we all have unique experiences. And even when you're raised in the same home by the same people, you don't have the same outcomes all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I used to get really jealous of my older sister because, again, that like traditional firstborn, we were raised Catholic, and my sister, when she made her first Holy Communion, my parents basically gave her a wedding. And so they hired a DJ. There was catering. Like, it was this huge thing.
That sounds like a bar mitzvah. Is that what it is?
Yes.
For the Jewish community?
Except she was 7.
Okay.
And so it was this huge thing. And then when it came around to my communion, my mom learned, like, that was so silly, the time and effort and money invested in something for a 7-year-old. You know, obviously it's a big deal in the Catholic Church, but probably not that big of a deal. And so with me, they took out a few family members. We went out to dinner to celebrate. And I remember my godmother, who is a big part of my life. I was so mad that there wasn't a DJ. And so she brought like a little radio.
Yep.
And like she put it on, and she I remember her saying, Stephanie, you can dance right here. And I was so mad about it.
Yeah.
And I just never let my parents live it down that they gave Jenna this huge communion. And for me, I got like a little out to dinner type evening. But it's funny because now that I have my own 2 daughters, with my first, we gave this huge first birthday too. And it was great, but it was a lot like to put together, and for a 1-year-old, that's not going to remember. And so when my second came around, you just learn, like, you don't need to do it that big and that grand. And it's not because we love her any less. It's just, we know better.
Yeah. But we were also intentional about that though. Like I wouldn't call Giada's first birthday like small get together. Like it was still the same.
And what did I
and the
say
same
after?
catering.
I'm like the third child. We're taking cake to the park or something.
That's interesting you brought that up, because I remember you saying one time like how that made you feel and how it made maybe you feel a little less special, even though that wasn't the intention, obviously.
Right.
Because they love you the same, even if it doesn't always look the same.
Yeah, and they were just being smarter about it. But from my perspective at the time, it was, I'm not as special as Jenna or
so it's
whatnot.
Interesting to hear you say that you didn't think that we did as much for our second. I think we did it almost the same. Don't you think?
Okay, yeah. Well, I also had poor Gigi. I didn't know it at the time, but she had the stomach bug on her first birthday.
Oh, that's right.
And we had all of my family from Connecticut drive up for her birthday. And that morning I went into her room and she had gotten sick in her crib. And I was praying that it was a fluke, but turns out it was not. And so, I was just like, never again. We're not doing these giant birthdays anymore. Because then basically my whole side ended up getting sick and had to drive home all sick. And so anyway, but yeah, I think it was definitely, at least the location of where we had Giada's birthday was less than what we did for Sienna. And again, that was just based on experience. I just felt like we didn't need to do as grand of a event.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, when Gigi listens to this in 20 years, it's not because we love you any less.
No, it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
You just learn as you go. And
the other part too about like the point that I made before about, you're not raised by the same parents as your siblings really, is that like there's a socioeconomic part too. And so like for most parents, when they're having their first and second child, at least money's not as available. It's, they're not quite as far along in the financial space of life. And so that can also be a struggle for some parents I know.
It's like the opposite.
How to moderate, as the younger ones are getting that same attention that the older ones got. So yeah, just a fun aspect of that. Okay, so you, after high school, what was the goal? What were you doing? Where were you going to go?
So I think a difference between where I grew up in Connecticut versus where you grew up in this area of Lewis County is there was no real option after high school besides going to college. Trade schools, I guess, were a thing or are a thing, but it was 90% of people are going to college or some type of higher education. And so I was definitely a homebody. I really, liked being with my parents, liked having that security blanket. And so I ended up applying to just a few local colleges, and I chose a state school that was about 25 minutes from my parents. The first year I did live on campus, and I really did enjoy living on campus, but I did come home almost every weekend. I definitely wasn't a big partier. I spent a lot of weekends just, coming home and
on the boat.
Being with my family. And I did graduate from that university. It was a 4-year university. I graduated with my bachelor's. But fun little story about anxiety and kind of how to overcome that is I wanted to drop out really bad. I was having a really hard time, just emotionally. And a tactic that my sister used with me was I would call her up and say, Jenna, I can't finish school. It's too stressful. I don't want to do it. And she would say, okay, well, just go tomorrow. And if you don't like it, you can stop. And I was like, okay, that seems doable. I'll just go tomorrow. I know I'm going to hate it. I'm going to go, and then it will be my last day. I won't go again. And then I went that day, came home, called my sister, said, Jenna, I can't do this. I want to drop out. And she said, okay, just give it one more day, Stephanie. Just do tomorrow. See what your other classes are like. If you don't like it, drop out. Anyway, she kept doing this until the end of the week. And by the end of the week, I was pretty much invested. I had met all my professors, saw returning students that I had known from previous years.
So this was like the first week.
Yeah, it was the first week of the semester. I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to continue my education. And yeah, it was a great tactic that she used. Obviously at the time I didn't know that that's what she was doing. I feel like my sister is very mentally strong. And so she just had a way about helping me through that first week. And then again, like by the end of the week, I was like, well, everyone saw my face, so I can't drop out now. And so, yeah, I ended up, continuing. And then I think that same semester is when I did seek some help to manage my anxiety and depression and emotional problems that I was facing at that time. And things really fell together for me. So I did graduate from college, and I really enjoyed my college experience. I don't think it was the traditional experience where people go away. Again, I only lived on campus for a year, and then I ended up commuting from home. And I loved that. I felt that I saved a lot of money, and money has always been a pretty important thing to me. Saving money. I've always been a really hard worker. And so money was important to me from a very young age. And so a lot of my classmates in high school chose these really large universities out of state that were very expensive. And that was never my idea. I wanted to go get a degree, but I wanted it to be very financially within reach. And so I was very proud of myself for choosing a school, not for quote unquote the experience of college, but simply to get my degree in a financially responsible way.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated, and then I went right into a master's program. And
what did you graduate?
I got my bachelor's in English.
Okay.
With the goal to teach. I had been going back and forth if I wanted to teach high school or if I wanted to do elementary. And I ended up deciding that I wanted to pursue elementary. I got into a master's program that was 10 months. It was accelerated, and it was paid for by an internship. So I got to teach first grade, and they paid for my master's program. So I went to the same school that you actually graduated from.
Yep. Shout out.
We did not know each other or meet each other there.
No, wrong time frame.
Period. I'm a baby compared to Brock.
Okay. 4 years.
5.
4.5.
But yes, so that was a really great year of my life. It was the same year I met you. But
that was a good year for you.
But yeah,
obviously for both of us.
I started my master's program, and within like a month I had met you.
Okay.
And so,
yeah, that's right.
So I graduated. I started in like September. I graduated in June with my master's in elementary education.
In 2019?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned kind of that money was a big deal to you. And do you mean that could be taken probably a couple of different ways? That like money is important for you to make and keep and have lots of, or to be smart about that and be fiscally responsible with your own money, especially with the college situation and how expensive it is ever since college became subsidized. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested which way you mean.
I think both.
Yeah,
kinda.
security too, financial security.
Yeah, important. Like I definitely don't want money so that I can have yachts and diamonds and things like that. But I do like to have security and also to be wise about.
You're a saver.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy having nice things and spending money, but in a responsible way. So if I have the money, then I know like, okay, I can afford to do this. We can afford to go to this place or out to dinner. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to be going out buying diamonds and Maseratis, right? Like that's
Unless
not what
you
I'm
wanna buy
looking
one
for.
me. Then if you want to buy one for me, then you can.
It is funny. When I was a child, going back to my childhood, I always did have an interest in business and making money. So like I was the kid every summer that was at the end of the driveway doing a lemonade stand.
Okay.
And even like as a young child, this is so weird, but like I used to love the smell of money.
That is a little weird.
Very strange. Like I would literally just like, if someone gave me $1, I would be smelling the dollar.
What?
I know.
I don't think you ever tell me, who are you?
I don't know. I just really enjoyed money and making money and earning money and doing things too. Yeah. And so in high school, a lot of my friends played sports and did different activities like the plays and things like that. That was not my,
Yeah, you were a go-getter.
that was not my goal.
Yep.
I just, as soon as I turned 15, I got my first job. And that was working at a pizza restaurant. And to this day, that was my favorite job. I loved working at the pizza restaurant.
Favorite job if you own a company. That's got to be your favorite job.
Yeah, I feel like I'm most proud and obviously most successful in my business.
But you liked making pizzas?
I liked the atmosphere. And of course, I was a young single girl. I was making tips, and it was the first time in my life that I was like I could financially support myself. Obviously, I was living at home. I'm not meaning paying rent.
You're making your own real money at that point.
Yeah, like I was paying for my own car,
which is a good feeling.
And I felt very financially responsible. I had my own spending money. I never had to ask my parents for money, and I really enjoyed that.
So it's a lot of the atmosphere, sure, at the business that you were working at was great, but it was a lot of the other things, the other aspects of earning your own money and being able to be financially stable independently from your parents.
Yeah.
That kind of gave you some extra purpose. And
yeah. And it also taught me how to work with different people. And it wasn't an easy job. I think people think, oh, working at a restaurant or a job that doesn't require higher education is quote unquote easier. And like working at a restaurant was really hard. Like the hours are long. You get customers that can be very rude. Owners of businesses can be very hard on their employees. And so I had to learn all of those things, and it was a really great first time experience for me.
Yeah. You can learn a lot of good things from, if you don't let it get you bitter and resentful and all those other good things. You can learn a lot about yourself, a lot about how to deal with people, a lot about hard work, what it takes. You're the one that's working weekends and nights and evenings. And because in the restaurant industry, especially, like that's when you make your money. It's when everybody's not working.
Right.
So that means you have to work.
And it also kept me, like, even looking back, it kept me out of trouble because I was working Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights.
Okay.
So I wasn't going out and doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing because I was working. So I also, looking back, think that was a good factor for me too. Yeah.
Also the realities of working under somebody, and especially if it's somebody who may be harder to work for, like you can learn a lot about yourself and what kind of employee you want to be, and down the road, what kind of employees you're looking for, and kind of the atmosphere that you want to create and the kind of boss you want to be. And really fascinating stuff. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because, working at that restaurant, I wanted to open up my own pizza restaurant. Like that was my goal. I really that was my first kind of, I knew I wanted to own a business, and working at the pizza restaurant, I really enjoyed the environment, but the owner's wife would come in every Friday to help work. And every single Friday I would go home and cry because she was so mean. And at that time I used to kind of like look up to her and think like, when I own my own restaurant, I'm going to make, I'm going to be so hard on my employees. And now I realize that is totally, like not the way that I want to be to my employees. I don't know exactly why she was like that, but in terms of the business that I have now, I don't think that that's the best way to treat your employees. Of course she was dealing with a lot of high school students or high school kids. So maybe that's just how she felt she needed to treat them to get the jobs that she wanted accomplished. But it's funny how you shift with, okay, what kind of leader do I want to be? Do I want to be a leader that's always making my employees cry? Or do I want to be a leader that, is hard on them when I need to be, but inspires them to do better and to feel comfortable in the workplace. And
right. It's leading out of fear or leading out of love.
Right.
Yeah. It's, or to borrow the Office quote, would you rather be feared or loved? And Michael Scott says both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. It's not what we're talking about either.
That's great.
Some good wisdom there. Okay. That reminds me of It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
The drugstore. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's quite literally beating his employees because he's in a drunken stupor, and all he thinks is, oh man, Gower is just this cranky old mean drunk who's hitting me. Well, it turns out that the main character, George Bailey, finds a telegram from the military informing him that his son was killed in the war, and immediately being like, oh, my whole mindset shifted. Like, you don't actually know what that pizza owner, the woman, was going through. You don't know their financials, you don't know the stress, you don't know their personal lives, and so that can make it tough. Like, people don't really know your journey unless you tell them. So
yeah.
Okay, so that must have sparked your interest in business then.
Yes, for sure. Yep. I was very inspired by that small business and how it operated. I kind of learned like the ins and outs of it. But I had a dilemma because I loved the business world, but I really also loved working with children. Like, from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a mom. I had always wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I was the little girl that would set up all my stuffed animals and pretend to be their teacher.
Like our girls.
And so I didn't know, like, do I want to open up a pizza restaurant or do I want to get my teaching degree? And so, I ended up obviously pursuing a teaching degree, and I always say, like, I kind of mixed my love for teaching and love for owning a business and like combined it with the swim school. So
yeah. Before we get into the kind of the beginnings of your business and how you started it and obviously what it's grown to, can you tell me a little bit about the personality behind that? You mentioned earlier, when you were talking about your father, about how you were a little bit more contentious, harder to deal with. And it does seem like a lot of times those qualities, when turned the right way, can really, like, some of the strongest entrepreneurs come out of that. Yeah. Like my dad is a wonderful businessman, and he was always ultra competitive, which is a huge thing for business. Like, you have to be by nature or you're out of business. Also detail oriented and stubborn sometimes about, like, this is my vision. This is what has to be done. I'm going to be the leader and this is how it has to be. Like, there is a balance of systems and processes for your employees that have to be met. Right. And those don't get met with just kind of pushover people that are just like, oh, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. That's not a good foundation for a company. So I'm fascinated to hear that from you, because I hear that a lot, where people who are A-type personalities, who are possibly more choleric or even melancholy. I know those are psychological terms and personality terms people might not be aware of, but those are the people who are the ones that are go-getters. They're the ones that are going to go get something done. They're not going to take no for an answer. And when you're a really passive person, a lot of times that can be a real struggle.
Right.
So how did you kind of shift those then to be like, okay, now I can use these qualities for the good parts of their personality traits versus maybe the more negative?
So I was always very scrappy.
Okay.
From a very young age. Obviously, I was kind of the problem child and very argumentative. I think my sister wrote an essay actually on that, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and I was definitely the squeaky wheel.
Okay, yeah,
and
right.
So through my childhood, it came across as very stubborn and hard and difficult. But as I got older and during my college years, when I did kind of seek help, like, hey, I'm very angry all the time. I'm very anxious. I don't know how to deal with life. And I was able to get some help that way. There was a huge shift in me. And so when I was able to get those kind of qualities under control, I was able to really excel. And so, I was not a leader in high school. I was very timid in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was very self-conscious. Again, kind of in my own thoughts, like, everyone's looking at me, or I'm not cool enough, or I'm not pretty enough. And once I got to the college years and I was able to really kind of dive into why am I feeling this way and grow into more of an adult, I really became a very natural leader. Even within my academics, I was mostly getting A's. When we had group activities, I would always be the person in charge of the group. And so I was really able to foster kind of that scrappiness, but in a productive way. And so, that kind of led me to diving right into a master's program right after college. And again, like I feel like I stood out amongst my peers, not to like toot my own horn. But I started to really, achieve the goals that I had wanted to in prior years, but just didn't know how to get there. So,
yeah, it's stacking experience on experience on experience and knowledge and maturity over time to figure out, like, everybody has personality. All right. And every personality has really good traits and really not so good traits. And it's about the maturation process to get to those good sides of your personality and kind of open those up and make them more manifest in your life and kind of work on not suppressing, but controlling the other ones. Yeah. And that takes a lot of personal responsibility, and it's just, it's a lot to take in and then produce into action that's positive.
Yeah. And I was able to see a lot more clear and kind of know what I wanted in life. And I think what you kind of nailed it with stacking on experiences. So again, like I worked a lot of odd jobs. At the pizza restaurant was my first job, but in college, I actually started nannying for twins. It's funny. My mom actually landed me all of my significant jobs that I've had that have led me to opening Shoreline. So I give my mom all the credit, but she got me the pizza job through some coworkers that she had at the time. It was their family business. And then the nanny job that I got, the nannying job, she actually, again, was at work and she was taking a phone call from a patient. And the patient was the woman that I ended up nannying for. She, I guess, told my mom, oh, I can't make my appointment today. My babysitter is sick and I have twins and I can't leave them at home. And my mom said, oh, my daughter's looking for a babysitter job. So my mom, like, if you know her. Yep. And so I ended up nannying in college. And again, like I was very fascinated with the family that I worked for. They were very well off financially. They had owned unique businesses and they had properties in many different countries. And I really loved their daughters. They were twin 2-year-old girls. And I was just, I felt like I was their mom. Right. And so I ended up, working for them, and I would bring them to their swim lessons.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that's kind of how I started. Yep. Yeah. So I brought them to their swim lessons, and the director of that swim program took a liking to me and asked me, hey, like you look like you're really good with kids. Would you ever want to work here? And they taught private swim lessons to children. And I said, well, I love the water and I love children. Am I the best swimmer? Probably not, but I knew how to swim. And she was like, yeah, like, why don't we start training you? So she started training me, and I really had to fake it until I made it. Cause I didn't swim on swim team. And so like I had to really work on my strokes. And, I didn't know a ton about technical water safety. And so I had to, I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
Yep.
And again, I kind of faked it until I made it, but I really enjoyed working at that swim school. And I thought it was a very unique business, and it happened to be very profitable. And it kind of, it had everything that I had wanted. I got to work with children. I got to be in the water, which I loved. I always loved the water. And we talked about my history with boating. But also my parents always had a pool. Yep. And so I spent, every summer swimming. And so it had a lot of the loves that I had of working with children, the water, and then the business aspect. It was kind of just like this beautiful storm.
Yep. Well, a lot of what you're talking about is growth and confidence. And like the more you do things, the more you realize that you can do more.
Yeah.
And then biting off a little bit more each time gives you just that much more encouragement for yourself and confidence in yourself to kind of venture off and do the next thing. I don't think a lot of people would have the mindset of, this is just as I'm going to take these skills, I'm going to learn these skills. That way I have them packed up for later in case I need them. And then kind of just taking different risks and taking different jobs and seeing what you like and finding where you fit in the world. And all of those kinds of things are so valuable to somebody who's especially in their college years and high school years, which is really cool. Okay. So then let's move to, I think all of that is just a testament to your character and how that you were able to kind of push through some of that. And I mean, I didn't know you at the time, but I'm sure that made your parents proud. Somebody who's willing to go out and make themselves uncomfortable and put themselves in positions where opportunity would then present itself, or would seize on those opportunities and make the best of them.
Yeah. I guess
that's something to teach kids for sure.
Yeah. I guess I kind of was an oddball because I definitely was nervous of like group settings. Again, I was very shy in high school. I was not the person that was going to be going to parties.
Yeah.
But when it came to trying jobs, I would always just try and like see if I liked it or if I could make money doing it. And so, that was kind of my experience with the swim instructing. And just kind of long story short, I ended up deciding, hey, this business seems pretty profitable. Why am I not just doing this on my own? And so during college, what I used to do was I would go to people's houses in the summer on the side, and I would teach them at their houses. And I started to make a lot of money doing that. One of my clients actually had an indoor pool. And so she had me teaching her kids all year long in her indoor pool. And that's what really gave me the push to try to open up my own business.
Yeah. But at the time, though, the goal was still to teach.
Yes, it was.
It was kind of like this underlying, feeling of, maybe this is something that I'm going to do, but you're still in college pursuing this other thing, right? At the time.
Yeah. So I obviously went and got my master's. And while I was getting my master's, it was pre-COVID. And so upon graduating, I was applying to all these different teaching jobs, and I didn't get one interview, like not even one interview.
With a master's degree in education.
Right. Like I was graduating with my master's. I was trying to get jobs for the fall, and nobody would even give me an interview. They just were not hiring for teachers at that time.
So this is summer 2019.
Yeah. Wow. And so I was like, it was April, and I am a very impatient person. And so I was like, I don't want to be applying for jobs all summer. Like I want to know that I have a job lined up when I'm done graduating or after I finish, the program. And so I was like, you know what? I am going to apply, or I'm going to try to open my own swim school. And I reached out to a bunch of hotels because at the swim school that I currently worked at was very similar to the concept of my business that I have now, where we're located out of a hotel. And so I reached out to a ton of hotels, asked if they would partner with me in opening a swim school using their indoor pool.
Which is kind of a long shot.
Yes, especially for a 22-year-old 5-foot female
with no proven business record.
So I reached out to maybe 100, and I actually was in your parents' guest room at the time, where I called my dream hotel, and they were the only ones that said, "Why don't you come in and talk to us?"
Interesting. Okay, so let's just rewind for a second, because I think that what you said about jumping around from all these different jobs and taking these opportunities to kind of learn about yourself, learn about what you want to do, learn all the secondary skills that come along with that, interpersonal relationships, financial stability, fiscal responsibility, all of these things are such good lessons to learn that you wouldn't have learned if you were like, I'm going to college, I'm only doing this one thing, and that's the way it is.
Right.
Because our culture would say, you go to high school, you go to college, the idea is that you go for one thing, you get out of college, that's what you do.
Right.
And it's not really the reality for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very true. And at least in Connecticut, again, it's expected in high school that you play sports, that you're part of all these activities. And yes, I absolutely find that is very valuable and significant. And I do wish that I had done more of that. But I also don't think there's enough emphasis on, why don't you go and work at this business for a little while?
See if you like it.
See if you like it. Go. And even in college too, like there's just not that much of that. And so I feel like kids go to college with this false sense of reality of what is going to happen post college. And they come out with these like degrees that they don't know how to apply in the real world.
Yeah.
And not saying that all college is like that. But I do think that a lot of times it is. And so that is why I really did like my undergrad program, because a lot of people were commuting. There was moms in my classes. There was, older people going back. I don't want to say older people, but,
probably older like what I am now.
right. Like people in their 30s and 40s that are not 18, 19, 20, that have already had 10 years experience in the workforce. And now they're going back to pursue a different course.
Maybe what they are truly passionate about, but didn't realize until later on.
And there was a lot of inner city kids, again, young adults who might not have the financial ability to go to these large universities. And so these kids are living on their own. They're paying for their own degrees. And so it's a lot of people with different backgrounds. And so I really appreciated that. I was able to learn a lot, like, okay, you work at this business, or okay, you live in this area, and okay, how are you paying for this course? And, I just think it's not like going to one university where all the kids are very similar and mommy and daddy are paying for me to go to this $60,000 school.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the promise and this area was the same, I'm sure, as it was for Connecticut. The promise was the fastest way to the middle class is through college. And what happened was, once the government subsidized it, the prices for tuition started to go through the roof. And all of these kids came from high school through their college program, whatever that may have been, with a lot of student loan debt, and the jobs just weren't there.
Right. Like I can name.
I mean, you're the perfect example. You went to your master's, it's not to cut you off, but you're the perfect example, because you went through your undergrad and your master's with the idea to teach, and then you came out with a 4.0 in, your elementary education degree in your master's, and
nobody would even, they wouldn't even give me a call back. I had a lot of, that would be something that I would recommend to the younger generation. Is I had so many of my friends go to University of Delaware or University of, I don't know, North Carolina or Clemson or all these big schools, and they were going for teaching. And I was like, you're going to come out making $45,000 a year
starting out,
and your student loans are going to be 60. Like, what are we thinking here? And so,
that's a big, like, that's going to be a big reset for the next generation. Like, our kids will definitely that should become part of the calculus for
Yeah.
your college experience. You
Yeah.
know, what are you looking for? What is the kind
Right.
of price range for this education?
Yeah.
And let's sure we make sure we're being smart and
And
not
also,
tying ourselves down.
there are so many ways to get your education paid for. So like my master's program, I was very optimistic in wanting to do my master's program because 1, I wasn't married. 2, didn't have children. So I knew that I could invest as much time as I needed to get this done, but also it was a very short period of time. It was only 10 months. And the biggest component was that it was paid for. Like, I'm going to teach during the day, I'm going to go to my classes at night, and they're going to pay for it. I only had to pay for my book. So that entire 10-month master's program, I probably spent $500 of my own money. So I would recommend any young person that wants to pursue higher education, try to find programs that don't cost you money.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot out there that do that.
Right. Yeah, and make sure it's actually a program that you're passionate about. How many times do you hear people in their second or third year of college being in general studies or liberal arts and then being like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, while racking up very serious debt for the future? You don't get to decide in year 3 or 4 that, oh, actually I want to do psych. Oh, I don't have any of the prerequisites for that.
Right.
Or I only have half of what I need. Now I have to go for 5 or 6 years. So
right. And even in my undergrad, I think academically, I don't think I learned that much. I think my undergrad, again, because of the school that I went to, I learned a lot about different cultures and backgrounds and how to work hard to achieve a degree. But I knew that my English degree was going to get me to my master's program because it had all the prereqs.
Yep.
And so that's kind of why I decided to do that. The education program at the time, I don't know how it is now, it was not accredited.
Okay.
And so I did not want to do elementary education through that program because I don't exactly know what that means, but it's not great if a university is not accredited in a specific program.
Sure.
And
because employers will look at that.
Right. Yeah. And it was definitely jumping through hoops to get into that program. And yeah. So I decided, I think it was 4.5 years to graduate with an elementary education degree. I didn't want to spend 4.5 years there. I wanted to get out on time.
Right.
So that's why I took the English route, and all of the prereqs were covered for my master's program.
And that doesn't mean that like you don't get a value out of those undergraduate classes. I mean, there's a lot of classes I took that my advisor told me I should take for my, my prerequisites and stuff like that too, that I felt like were so ridiculous and silly. And
right.
But looking back on them, I'm sure that I learned skills, writing skills, comprehension, a little deeper, critical thinking,
yeah,
communication, and networking and teamwork
and how to work under pressure. There's a lot of things due at the same time, and
time management. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Battling procrastination, all of those things.
Right.
That may have down the road really served me well in career paths that I ended up going.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to bash on college. Just be smart about where you're going to college. What you're going for is something that you want to do. I think that that's important. That's something we're going to teach our girls for sure.
Yeah. And again, it took me, quite a few years in those college times to know, like, okay, yes, I definitely want to pursue education and I want to do it this way. I definitely feel my master's program I was very interested in. At that point, I knew what I wanted to do, or I thought I did.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, it was very interesting to me. I really enjoyed what I was learning, and I was able to apply it every single day. So, like, for instance, I would learn about teaching children how to read and understanding what blends and digraphs are. And the following day, I was able to go to my first graders and teach them about blends and digraphs. And so I was like, I was really applying what I was learning, and that was really cool to me.
Yeah. I think that is a part of the hands-on nature of teaching. Like any area of teaching skills, whether it's academically or in sports or higher education or as an employer, knowing how people learn is like the absolute key, because if somebody's not going to learn from your visual representations of what you're doing, then maybe they're more hands-on. Maybe they're the kind of person who sees it in their mind by reading it. Like there's so many different ways of learning. And if you're not teaching them how to apply those things in the way that they comprehend it in a good way and are able to then, carry that out.
Right.
Like it sounds like that's a good blend for you. I always talk about that in coaching, like in baseball, when I used to coach baseball. Like if a kid doesn't seem to get it just by telling them, show them.
Yeah.
And then you show them, here's what I want you to do. And then to see them do it, and you're like, okay, so you are a visual learner, my friend. Some other people, hey, I need it explained a little bit more to me. Just talk it through with me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're an auditory learner.
Right.
And I think the same applies in teaching, in business, and pretty much anything where you're trying to learn skills or teach skills. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you went, I want to get into the part about you basically treading water, not making any ground toward your education goals as far as teaching.
Yeah.
Because I love that part of your story that you'll be able to stay forever. Like I was going this way. The doors weren't opening for me. I just couldn't get in. I couldn't do that. And I was kind of being pushed to do something else.
Yeah. And I think a quote unquote normal person would have just been like, yeah, this is normal. Like it's normal to have to apply to a lot of places and wait for an interview. I'm just not that type of person. I don't like for doors to open for me. I like to open doors. Yeah. So, when I started to like kind of get not negative feedback, but just not get any feedback, I was like, I'm not going to just wait around. And so I was like, maybe the Lord is telling me that I need to pursue something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And so again, I really did enjoy teaching in the water. And I found that it was very similar to a traditional classroom. Yeah, I'm not teaching them math. I'm not teaching them writing, but I'm teaching them a life-saving skill. And I'm able to do so, like you said, in similar ways. Okay, the student's a visual learner. The student learns by hearing. This student, needs more explanation. I do have to say, I think 99% of children, you need to show and tell. It needs to be both. And so I was able to use those skills that I was learning from the traditional classroom, and I applied it with private lessons in the water. And so I was like, hey, yeah, I'm getting my master's in education, but I feel like I am going to be able to apply these skills in a swim school type setting. So I reached out to all these hotels. Long story short, the one in the town that I was living in agreed to meet with me. And again, circle back to my very supportive, amazing parents. My dad came with me, and we met the general manager of the Trumbull Marriott. And I remember, like, again, 22-year-old me walking in, I was so nervous. And I sat down with my dad, the general manager, and the head of accounting, and we sat down, and they were so cool. Like this man just wanted to give me a shot. Yeah. And he thought, hey, could probably bring the hotel some money, brings this girl some money. Win-win. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful for him because he
shout out
was
Mr.
Pacino. He was the only person that, he didn't seem super nervous. He was like, she looks like she wants to teach some swim lessons in the pool. Yeah. Sounds good. And so we were able to work out the nitty-gritties, of course. And I met with him in April, and I started on June 2nd. I graduated with my degree, my master's degree, I think like May 29th. And then I opened like a few days later. Okay. And I was in the water.
What was the transition from, I want to go back into like the winter, because this is when you were kind of like, okay, this is maybe something that I would really like to do. Because you were applying to teaching positions while you were still in school, right? And nobody would call you back.
Right.
And so when was the transition point to where you were like, maybe I need to pivot here?
Yeah. So my brain works very fast. And so there wasn't a ton of time in between both. It was like, maybe I started applying to teaching jobs in January. By March, not getting a lot of feedback. So from March to April, I'm contacting hotels. April, I'm able to set up this meeting, meet with him. 2 months later, I'm in the water.
And at that point, we had been dating for 6 months.
Yeah.
More
And
or
you
less.
were very, like, you thought it was a really cool idea about the swim school, and you were very encouraging, and your parents were very encouraging too, especially your dad being a business owner. Your mom had just opened up her own business at the time. So they were very supportive. And something that really stood out to me about you was, I had a former boyfriend, a few years back, and I had told him, I want to open up a swim school one day. Like, again, I was working at a private swim school, and I remember him laughing at me and saying, your personality, you would never be able to own a business. And it really stuck with me. Like, it was a big ouch, and it really stuck with me. And I was able to turn that around and say, like, who are you to say that to me? And when I met you, you were the total opposite. You were like, that sounds amazing. Like, how could you do that? And what are the steps to do that? And what hotels are there? And why don't you go call them in my parents' guest room? They have a guest room. Like, it's quiet in there. And that was something I was like, okay, this guy is really supportive. And yeah, it was just nothing that I had known from other boyfriends in the past. And so
it's amazing. I want to touch on this point. It's amazing the power of just a little bit of encouragement and how far that can go, because nobody reaches the mountaintop alone. Nobody. And anybody who's ever done anything in their lives that they look back and they're like, oh, that's a significant step for me in the direction that my life ended up going. There's always like people behind them, pushing them, encouraging them to do something extraordinary. We had Dr. Manoj Vora on, and he's summited all the high peaks in the world, the 7 summits, which is the highest on each continent, the highest in each state in the United States. And he mentioned that, and one of his kind of closing statements was just like all of the appreciation he has for all the people who weren't in the photo of him on top of Everest, because without them, like, they're not there.
Right.
And so, yeah, pretty cool to hear that. Yeah, I think your parents are a huge, huge part of that. I'm glad to hear you say that about my parents and me. Like, that was the kind of the motivation, just to help you and whatever that looked like. So
yeah, and you helped me. Obviously, we run it together now, but in the beginning phase, when I had first opened, I had like 12 clients, and I was working, and I was in the water every day, like 8 hours without breaks. And I remember the water used to be very cold and it was different than what I was used to at the former swim school. I was working 3-hour shifts in the water. Yep. Now I'm working 6 to 8 hours without a break. And again, I'm a hustler. And so I didn't want to take a dinner break. I just wanted to fill that with a client, so it was more money for me. And so in the first few months, I really missed the traditional classroom. It was different than working with a group of 8 to 10 students at one time versus one student every half hour around the clock. And so, and again, the first week I had 12 clients, but by the end of my first session, or the end of the first 8 weeks, I had 56. And so I was working a lot in the water, and I hated it at first. And I would constantly call you saying, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I made the wrong choice. This is too hard. And you have always been a person in my life that has taught me, why does hard mean bad? Like, why is your first instinct to stop doing that hard thing? Yeah. And I hadn't been taught that. I think, a lot of times I associated hard with bad, or different with bad. And so,
friction with pain. Yeah.
And
pain with failure. Sure.
Yeah. So I really did want to quit. I was like, well, I gave it a couple months. This is not for me. But again, what
I
helped,
remember.
yeah, but what helped me, and I kept thinking, why does Brock want me to keep doing this? Like, why can't I just quit and be a traditional teacher? But I think you saw the value in it, and you were looking down the road like, okay, if we do get a few staff members and Stephanie's able to come out of the water, she can work from home. We can have children. She can be like, you were looking long term.
Yeah.
I am more of like a short term person where I'm thinking like what's right in front of me.
Yeah.
And so that was very hard for me to grapple with. Was you were like, just get through a few months. Like, this is a very profitable business and we can expand. So you were a huge person, and you still to this day teach me like hard doesn't mean bad. It actually probably means the opposite. And so, yeah, that's what happened. I was able to continue. I think something that really helped me to continue was I was able to make a healthy routine. And so something that stands out to me is, again, I was in very cold water. So I would come home every single day. I would take a shower. I would make my dinner, and then I would put a fire in my fireplace. I had a little studio apartment at the time, and I would put like one of those instant logs.
Yeah,
Duraflame.
Yeah, those are awesome.
And I loved it. I would make tea. I would watch my show, and it just establishing routine, which I know is so simple, but
yeah, it's not that simple. It's actually, it's easier said. Shout out to the podcast.
Right.
That is one of the things where everybody's like, oh, well, just make a routine and get into your routine and you'll love your routine. It's like, it's not that easy to get in routines for everybody.
Right.
Like, not everybody is
and again,
that
you
way.
kind of have to like fake it till you make it. So I it would be like, oh, I can't wait to go home and shower, to then after a few weeks of doing the same routine, like, I can't wait to go home and shower and make my dinner and put my fire on and watch my show. And so, yeah, I'd get up, I'd go to work, come home, and just that routine really helped me to understand like, this is doable.
Yeah.
And obviously having you to support me, having, weekends with you. You were a cop at the time. And so our working hours were kind of a little all over the place.
All over.
But again, we made it work, and my bank account started growing. I started to see big picture here. That was helpful to me.
Yeah. See, I think for me, I guess I'm not really a visionary, but I see the potential in things, and I don't always communicate it very well. And like, if I would have told you like, okay, well, here's what you could be throwing away potentially. Here's the potential vision for what this could turn into.
Right.
Maybe that would have helped you see it versus just like, look, this is good what you're doing. Like, you can do it. Keep at it. It's going to be fine. Because sometimes that comes across like, oh, well, he only wants me to do it because it makes good money. It's like, no, that's not really the underlying reason.
And we had that argument, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Many times of like, oh, you only care about the money. Obviously, that's so not you. And so, yeah, you were definitely thinking big picture, and I think you thought I was good at it. And so that was,
and that's another part. Like, it's fun to see somebody, and I've done this before. I've walked into businesses before, and I've been in contact with people before. Azahar Roast Houses, I feel that way about them. Like, they're just doing it right. Like, they're just doing it the right way. They're very conscientious. They're very intentional about what they're doing. Yeah. They're good at it.
It's really cool to see people good at what they do.
Yep. Or have you ever walked into a business before? Like Miller's Meat Market, for example. Right. Like, you walk into their new facility there, and you're like, they take what they're doing very seriously, and they're so good at it. Yeah. There's something about watching somebody like in their craft, whatever that looks like, and mastery, and just appreciating that. I felt that way with you. Like, you're the best swim instructor I've ever seen. So it's fun to see you in your element and then to excel. And it would have been just as hard for me to have you walk away for that, not because of the money or anything like that, but because you were good at it. And I think that if you would let it run its course, you would find joy in it, and you would find
and you absolutely
and purpose.
You absolutely were right. And I did. And I established relationships with my students. Once that started happening, I mean, it was just magical. And once they really started learning by week 4, they were really starting to master the skills that I was teaching. And so that was, again, amazing. I was developing a relationship with the parents. And then, I ended up adding some team members, and COVID happened. So that was a huge thing.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So you started the company. We got engaged in May 2019. The plan was
Oh
to
my
get
goodness,
married
yes.
in May 2020. It did work out that way, but not really how we thought.
Right.
But let's just jump back quick because that is going to be like the next segment.
Okay.
I want to kind of get into the growth development of the business
Okay.
as a leader and what that grew up to, because your company has taught thousands of kids how to swim. Life-saving skill, one of the highest accidental causes of death for children. And so like very purposeful and meaningful on that front.
Yep.
But also the challenges of the time period, what you had to go through during the pandemic, and kind of growth and what that looks like. Because that's a whole nother ballgame from just starting your own little thing that's just you.
Right.
Now you're a boss. You're in charge of other people.
Yep.
Responsible for their livelihoods in a lot of ways because you're signing the checks. Your company viability is what matters.
Yeah.
So before we get to that part, let's just jump back to you and I.
Okay.
So you and I met in October 2018.
Yeah. So should we say, like, I think we probably said this on a former podcast episode, but
Yeah.
we met using an app.
Oh yeah. Shout out Bumble.
Which again, I am a girl that knows what she wants. And so I was like, okay, I'm not fooling around anymore. I don't want to date for fun. Like I want to find my person. And so we ended up meeting.
Just the most 21st century way of meeting.
Yeah. But we ended up meeting at a restaurant. You drove from being on vacation.
I was
like
at a wedding in
8
Virginia.
hours or something.
Yeah. Virginia.
Straight to the restaurant. I was like, oh, I did not know that. We could have rescheduled to a different day, but
I
you
was too
just
excited.
drove straight to the restaurant. And yeah, we met and our first date went really well. I remember thinking like, I think this is going somewhere. And yeah, I think the rest is history. We saw each other, a few days after that?
Yeah, I think so. It was very genuine. You know, it's hard with the dating climate of the time to just have like spontaneous interactions where you, especially in a place where you don't really know people. I'm not from Connecticut. I was living in Connecticut, obviously working in Connecticut. It was hard to like find somebody who was intentional. The interesting part about Bumble, the app, versus others is that the female has to make the first contact. You know, once that you've decided you're both interested or whatever, how the app works, it's up to the female to decide. Well, that actually kind of eliminates a lot of men are just not good at this stuff. Like usually there's ulterior motives. It's hard to sift through intentions, where most women seems like they do a better job communicating what they want. And it's not so much trickery and games as us men do a lot. And so it felt a little bit more intentional that way. But you were like, told me what you wanted. I did the same thing. I said, I'm not here to goof around. I'm not here to mess around. I'm looking for forever. So whatever that looks like. And I'm very surprised that didn't scare you away.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It made me very happy. We pretty much wanted the same things out of life. We wanted to get married, to have children. Obviously our upbringings were a little bit different. You were raised Christian, I was raised Catholic, but our fundamentals were the same. And yeah, we got along really well. You're super funny, very handsome.
Keep going.
And yeah, it was just a great first date and great first few dates.
Yeah.
And it progressed pretty quickly. You were able to meet my family within probably the first month.
Yeah. I think that we were just, the rest was history. It seemed like, so we met, we were engaged within 6 months. And then the engagement period, out of your parents' desire specifically, was to be about a year.
Yep.
So that ended up being May 2019, get married
May
May
2020.
2020.
Yeah, that was their one request was
Yep.
that because your family is used to very short engagement periods.
Sometimes, yeah. Yep.
But for my family, it's pretty standard for about a year to be engaged. And
I felt that was totally appropriate.
and that's what my parents' wishes were.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and I think they honestly probably wanted to have you make sure, like, do you really know her? Because again, there is difficult sides of me.
Yeah.
And so I think they wanted us both to have that year to make sure, like,
Sure.
we're good. Like, this
Yeah.
is what we want. And, yeah, then the COVID happened. And so we did end up getting married in May, like planned, but not like planned. So we had a backyard wedding at my sister's house. A few of your siblings came, my siblings came, our parents, but that was it.
Yep.
And we had like a Zoom wedding. So like distant family members and friends were able to hop on Zoom to see it happen.
Does it seem kind of crazy that's like that happened?
Yeah, it's crazy. But honestly, I think it was such a blessing. Like, I just know that God was telling me nothing else in this world matters besides Brock. I didn't need the big extravagant wedding. I didn't need the giant reception. I just needed Brock. And it was, to this day, one of my favorite days.
It kind of pulled back all of the frills and
the extras.
Yeah, the lights and
Yeah.
kind of back to the basics, which was really cool because my dad married us, which was really awesome, and to have that kind of experience, like in the middle of felt like the world was going crazy, was really cool. But so then we got married.
I just have one more little thing to say, which is really cheesy, but you know that that scene in Titanic at the end where Rose and Jack are in heaven, and
What?
yes,
There's a scene where they're in heaven.
yes. So
okay.
Rose passes away from old age, and she opens a door into the ballroom that was in Titanic,
That's right.
and Jack is there waiting for her. I always say that my heaven is going to be, my sister had a very steep driveway, and I remember being so anxious. My dad drove me in his Mustang to my sister's house on the day of our wedding, and we drove down the hill of her driveway, and there's these big bushes, and I was so nervous and sweating and just, about to get married. And I remember my dad opened the door. I got out of the car, and I was able to see you through the bushes, and literally all my nerves just went away. And I just saw my whole life standing in front of me. And I feel like that will be my heaven someday. Like, if you make it to heaven before me, that's going to be you waiting there for me.
Yeah, really good memories. Really cool. Really cool that kind of all happened that way. Honestly, I think it's a blessing for sure. Okay, so then, man,
You might have to edit that out. That was a little cheesy.
it's not cheesy. I love it. There's certain moments in life when you feel like they're just stamped. Like Inside Out movie would call them core memories. That's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I was able to kind of surprise you with a little getaway at an Airbnb because, he couldn't go anywhere. Our honeymoon had been canceled, and, we were supposed
All
to go
the
to St.
restaurants
Lucia.
were shut down. You can only get
couldn't go
takeout
anywhere.
food.
So that was really a cool thing. And that kind of goes back to the, like the world's on fire right now, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's okay. We'll make it work. We'll do something better. How about that? And we'll do something that kind of produces these long lasting memories and kind of something that we immediately went through. Like, how many times did we have to cancel our honeymoon?
Oh my goodness.
How many times did we have
And
to
our
cancel
wedding.
our wedding? We had a big
times.
wedding plan, and that was kind of stressful. And yeah, I think we learned a lot about each other through that experience for sure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that like we started our marriage with kind of not ideal situation.
Yeah. It is interesting though. Like I don't feel like we argued at all about the wedding. And that to me, looking back, was like pretty stressful, but we just went through the motions and just kept every time
because we argue, people. We argue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But like every time the wedding venue would cancel on us. Like they kept changing the date and pushing the date back. And instead of us getting like frustrated about it, we just were able to pivot.
Yep. That's a life lesson that I hope that we keep getting better at. I hope that we can really, show our girls, show our children that life's going to throw you curveballs all the time. Like it's up to you what you're going to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been so many times where I haven't been good in that area, where something's come up and I've just reacted so poorly, and that's not how I want to be. And I don't think anybody would say that's how they want to be. They don't want to be the person who overreacts and gets emotional and can't think when things are bad.
I think, how we react to hard situations.
Air quotes.
Really, shows what kind of person we are, and I think does affect the outcome. So like even with COVID, obviously COVID was a very hard thing, and a lot of people went through, just losing family members, and it was not a great thing that happened, obviously. But in terms of like our situation, we actually ended up saving a ton of money because we changed venues. So
right.
Instead of spending $40,000 on a venue, we spent like close to nothing.
Yeah, which people, at least around where I am, they'd be like, wait, how much?
Right. But like in Connecticut,
there,
that's very normal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so, there was just, and even with my business,
blessings,
like I was devastated at first when everything shut down. I had just gotten momentum in the business. And again, like in hard moments, you have to choose if you're going to let the hard control you and your emotions, or if you're going to rise above it. And when COVID shut down my business, instead of just taking the whatever checks they were called.
Yeah, PPP loans.
Right. And just sitting back and just letting that come to me, I was like, no, like I need to pivot. And so I was doing Zoom classes with my students every week. I would do a virtual swim class, and I got to be really creative and use that traditional classroom setting. And so like one week I made a giant pirate ship, and we had like an under the sea week theme. We would do sing-alongs and dances, and I would do stroke motions out of the water, lots of different creative things. And it was really, really fun.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And I think that kind of made me stand out from other swim schools. And so parents were recognizing like, oh yeah, we're not just taking a break from this. Like she's actively reaching out to her students. And the director of the former program that I worked for, I think also took notice of that. Because during that period, I don't think our former boss had that same type of outlook. And the director ended up reaching out to me asking, when things open back up, can I come work for you? And that was a really cool moment for me. And so, when we opened back up, again, I opened a little bit sooner than I was supposed to. Cause again, I don't do well waiting. And so I think I was supposed to technically open back up in August. But I ended up opening back up in June.
Okay.
And so I did that by working out of my parents' backyard.
Yep.
And they had an in-ground pool, and just, they lived, in a very traditional neighborhood.
Right.
And I mean, all these cars coming to their house every half hour, kids walking across the grass. And the director of the other program and myself were teaching in the backyard every single day, grinding. We made the most progress with students that summer. Like it was one of my favorite summers, specifically because, again, how much progress the students were making, but also the relationship that I was able to build with my parents at the time. They were so supportive of me and my business, and they wanted to do everything to make sure that I was able to continue during this pandemic.
Right.
And so like I would get to my dad's house very early in the morning, help him with the chemicals. He, would help me vacuum the pool. He had the pool mint for me. And so that relationship, that father-daughter relationship was really cool because I was able to work with him and see him every day. And then, yeah, it was such a blessing during my mom's lunch break because during COVID, she was able to work from home. I would see her looking out the window and looking at my swim lessons. And it was just great. Like I got to experience for the first time, I really saw, not that they weren't proud of me in the past, but that was a huge time where I knew like they were proud of me and they were really supportive of me. And so, yeah, that was great. And then we went back to the hotel at the end of the summer.
Well, because like the big part too about that success was parents were desperate to do activities with their kids who were just being told to stay inside and you can't go to the playground because the playground is, you know, all quarantined off.
Yes.
And I can remember some of the craziness that was going on at that time. You know, they were putting things over the basketball hoop so you couldn't play basketball outside and all of these different things.
Yeah.
And they had found out, well, some of the guidance was that pools, outdoor pools especially, but indoor pools as well, that are chlorinated were, as long as they're in ventilated areas, were some of the best places you could be in. I don't know how strong that science was, but anyway, that was kind of the idea. And so these parents are thinking, okay, outside, UV rays, sunlight, activity.
That kill COVID.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
allegedly,
again, it worked really well for me because unlike activities like soccer or karate, where, you know, there's a big group of kids.
Very close contact.
And again, activities that are indoors, this was private one-on-one lessons. And so it was me and the student. And we were in a chlorinated pool that kills viruses.
With
we were
face
also
shield.
outside.
Yep.
And so UV sunlight kills, you know, viruses or at least slows the spread or whatever it was.
Whatever they said.
And so,
and you guys had taken precautions.
We wore
wiping
face
everything
masks.
down.
I used to take the kids' temperatures. I mean, some of it looking back is just ridiculous what we did. But again, like I was hustling. And so even the toys that I was using after every single class, I was putting them in a bleach bucket. And I was doing that to make my clients feel comfortable. I'm taking every precaution. And again, I think that did make me a little bit different than other swim schools per se. Maybe other swim schools, even if it seemed ridiculous, all the measures I was taking, I mean, I was dripping wet, running out of the water, taking one student's temperature, cleaning the toys, getting in the water, teaching the lessons, running out of the water, spraying down the chairs. You know, I was doing everything to make it so that my lessons were safe. And so
in your defense too, like we're talking about June, July 2020.
When we knew nothing.
We didn't know anything, and you had to take it seriously,
right?
Based on the information.
Like your business could be shut down if they suspected that, you know,
crazy. So then
things were coming from your business or being spread in your business.
So then you were able to move back indoors pretty quickly, and that's kind of a shout out to government or the governor Lamont, right?
Well, also,
or was it Malloy at the time? No, it's Lamont.
Yeah, but also it was really nice because pools and ventilated areas were, I think, phase 2.
Right.
So we were pretty early on.
That's why I was saying kind of like the shout out to him because Democrat governor, you know, maybe wouldn't agree with a lot of policies that he has, but was true to his word and said, this is how it's going to run. Yeah. I'm the leader. I will take action here and we'll reevaluate. And then that's how it was brought out. Whereas a lot of other states, it was like, okay, we're going to open up this. Oh, just kidding. Actually, we're going to push that back 2 months. Oh, wait, pull it back. Oh,
right.
You can
there
open.
wasn't a ton
now you can close.
I don't remember there was a ton of pushback when they gave us the date. Yep. And of course you had to read the documents and kind of like read between the lines a little bit. But yeah, I was able to open back up in August, and the director of the former swim school that was working with me was now fully on board. She became the aquatic director for my company. Fast forward a few weeks, she kind of recruited another member that she had, swim instructor that she had previously worked for, who was a very good instructor. And so now it was the 3 of us. I was able to then hire one other instructor, and I was able to get out of the water. Mm-hmm. And again, all this happened very quickly. I don't move slowly. So it wasn't me teaching in the water for 10 years. It was me teaching for less than a year by the time I was able to remove myself from the water, which I had to. At that point we have over 100 students, probably closer to 180 students. And I wasn't going to be able to teach full time and then do all the business aspects. And so I was able to remove myself from the water I had a great group of staff teaching, instructing, and then I was really able to focus on the business aspect. And that's kind of when you also decided to hop on board and we moved to New York.
Crazy. So that is one of the questions that I would have had for you is like, first of all, looking back, you talked about growing up with issues of anxiety and depression and I guess worry, to just be the kind of person who's then like, oh, now I move fast, I make things happen, I do things, like I grow fast, I don't wait. Like that seems so different than that same thing. It's probably a testament to getting help and some of those things, but it was able to kind of shift your focus. And yeah, it's just interesting to see that kind of character arc.
Right. And I think some of that can be superpowers, you know, like if you're able to, like for me, my overthinking, once I was able to get that under control, I was able to really have the ability to focus on tasks versus like worry about them. Yep. And so, yeah, I don't always think that those mental health issues
are the end all be all.
Right.
Have
like
to define
they can absolutely be a superpower if you use them in the right way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
During your growth, because now, I mean, it's not unusual to have 6 or 7 employees with, you know, hundreds of students, you know, on a regular basis. What was the biggest learning curve for you in growth?
Managing staff, especially being a young female. I think it's very easy for me to get emotional, as well as to not always be respected by employees. Because of my age, you know, I'm not even 30. And so to have employees that are older than me was tricky. And I had to learn how to manage employees. I still am learning. I do think I'm getting better at it. How to be less emotional and also how to realize that nobody is going to be as invested in my business as I am. So my employees are going to call out. They aren't going to, you know, they're invested in their students. Of course, they have pride in their work. My instructors are incredible, especially the ones I have right now. But in general, employees are not going to be as invested as the business owner, and they shouldn't be. And so I've had to learn that even though I might be up at 2 a.m. trying to find a sub for the next day because one of my employees is sick, they're not going to be up at 2 a.m. trying to, you know, and of course you do get 1 or 2 really good employees that really invest. And those are the ones that you might want to really take notice in, because they might be the ones that are going to really help your business grow or be people that are going to go do their own thing and start their own business. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think managing expectations is a big one. And then not being overreactive to assuming intent on why people are doing what they're doing. If you come into a company and you're like, why is nobody else working as hard as I am? It's just, you know, it's not their company. Like they are invested for sure. And we are so blessed to have good staff. Like we have the best staff. Yeah. And I think that managing people definitely is one of the hardest things. You know, we've gone through a lot of struggles. Yeah. We've had a lot of issues with turnover, especially around COVID time. And there's just so many good lessons to learn from all that. So I was interested to see kind of where you went with that. And that's exactly what you said. Yeah.
And people are complicated. People are very complex. And so you don't know what they're dealing with at home.
It's a hard balance to get that relationship right also. Right. To be approachable because, you know, your company runs best when your employees run best. Your employees run best when their lives are running well. Right. So how do you put up boundaries? Right. But also invest in your staff. That's been
hard for us. That's been hard for us. And I think we're doing a much better job now. But because me and you are family and a lot of our own family owns businesses, we're very family oriented and focused on that type of culture or creating that type of culture. And so sometimes we would forget that our employees are not our family. And so just setting up those healthy boundaries. Like, yes, we're not a big corporation where we don't even know what our employees' names are. And I don't want to be that, but I also have to remember that, yes, this person is not, might not work for my company in 20 years. And so we have to make sure that there are those healthy boundaries.
Yeah. That's been a difficult
And set
balance.
our expectations. Manage our expectations properly, where we want to expect high performance from our instructors, but at the end of the day, know that they are employees. And
they have their own lives.
And they have their own lives and
Yeah. Because I think like you would love in a perfect world as a leader to have that family atmosphere in your company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not always the reality. It doesn't always work that well. Sometimes, even if you're communicating that, it's not received a certain way, which can cause division. And it's just, it becomes this whole bigger thing. Whereas if you can kind of reorganize your priorities and say, hey, we are a team. This is the goal. We have to set up these systems and these processes so that we get this done, so that we provide a great product, a great service for somebody. And then at the end of the day, we want this to be so mutually beneficial that we can work together for a long time.
Yes.
And help you to grow in our company. As much as we grow, we'd love to see you grow.
Exactly.
But it takes a mutual respect and a balance. And it's just one of those things in business that is hard to get right.
Yeah. And especially going from, again, like I had a lot of part-time jobs, but the Shoreline was my first full-time job. So going from having a bunch of part-time jobs to then being my own boss, I didn't have a lot of experience working under people at least full-time.
Okay.
Like the pizza restaurant, I was 15, 16 years old, working Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
I worked at a daycare, I worked nannying. Those are kind of different settings, I would say, than if I worked for a corporation for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And so, I had to really learn healthy boundaries within the workplace, and I'm still learning that, but I think it's going really well. We have a great group right now. I'm very thankful for them, and I think that they enjoy working here as much as I enjoy working with them. So I'm grateful for that.
What has been one of the most gratifying feelings from owning your own company?
I think starting something from nothing and it really being me, like, kind of hard to put into words, but I do feel like I created a product or a service that I was able to teach other individuals how to replicate. And it's been very successful with helping a lot of children and adults. And so, I think that I'm very proud of that I was able to just start something and really transform it into other people are now able to do that same thing.
Yeah. Let's move real quick to now we've gotten growing the company. Let's just talk briefly about the transition to moving out of state. Like, that's a big deal for you. You already mentioned you're a homebody. You specifically picked a school close by your parents. That was kind of your comfort zone. In the summer of 21, July, we moved. So we had been living in an apartment in Connecticut together since we were married and had decided that we were going to move out of state back home where I'm from. Not your home, my home. And tell me that feeling.
Yeah. So again, Brock thinks big picture. And so what he's thinking is we could have a beautiful home where, I grew up. It's way more affordable up there. You and I could both work from home, running Shoreline together. And so that was all great. And I agreed.
especially with community aspect, raising a family.
Exactly.
That's just kind of, you can get a picture of how my brain works. I'm talking like years down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
But my short-term thinking is, moving was extremely hard for me. And again, I still related hard as being bad. And so when I moved up here, we actually had just found out that I was pregnant, the same weekend that we moved. And I really snowballed into a very hard time for me mentally. And so I was dealing with a huge move. Hormones really affect me. Again, chemical imbalance. And so I did not do well in that period. That summer was really hard for me. So we moved up to Lowville. I left my family, who I'm extremely close with, and I moved to a different area that was pretty much like being on Mars to me because Connecticut is very different than Lowville, New York. And I left my business. That was pretty much my baby. Obviously didn't leave it, but I was working remote, which was completely different than being at the swim school every day. And so, it was just all of these, again, perfect storm in a not so great way. And I just didn't know how to deal with it.
The imperfect storm.
The imperfect storm. And so
it's not as catchy.
I really, really struggled that summer. Thankfully, my mom is amazing. And I feel like mom's jobs never end. Right. And she came, and I think she spent like a month up here with me trying to get me acclimated. And I pretty much hit rock bottom. Like, I didn't know how I was going to be a mom. It was a really tough time for me. Thankfully, I had a great doctor up here, Dr. McHugh.
Shout out again.
Love her. She's the best. She really helped me with getting my early stage of pregnancy kind of under control with my hormones. She really encouraged me to stay in Lowville. And she kind of taught me that even good stress is still stress. So even this positive move, me being pregnant, again, I'm married, I wanted to have children. Even though all those things are good, it's still stress, and it's still going to put stress on my mind. And she kind of really helped me to understand how to navigate that and how to deal with that in a more healthy way. Mm-hmm. And I would say fast forward 6 months, I started to really like living here. I love Brock's family. And so it was very helpful to have them all supporting me and surrounding me. We welcomed our baby girl in March of 2022. And she's just her and her little sister are just the biggest blessings from the Lord. And now living here, how many years have we been here now? 4?
Yep.
It is my favorite place. Like, I love Lowville. It's so weird how God can really change your heart. But I went from hating this area to like having every intention of moving back to Connecticut to now never wanting to leave this area. I didn't like the cold climate at all. I'm such a beach girl. Now I love the snow. It actually snowed for the first time today. And our oldest daughter, Sienna, is 3.5. And she looked out the window and was like absolutely fascinated that it snowed.
Right.
And she couldn't get her boots on fast enough. And it was just so wonderful.
How crazy is that she probably doesn't even remember last winter?
Right.
Is that how it works? Like, their long-term memory isn't really isn't really intact until they're 3.5
last
or
year
4.
she was only 2.5, and so like seeing the snow for the first time wasn't as big of a deal as this year. She really understands what snow is, and so it was just, she was so excited to play in it. But so anyway, I really do love our life. I love the fact that I get to work from home, and my primary job at this point is taking care of the girls. And kind of full circle picture here, got my master's in education, and this is my first year doing a little bit of homeschool preschool with my daughter, which has been really great so far.
the cool part about what you just mentioned was that like Dr. McHugh had kind of said, just because it's all good things, like notice that they're good things, but that they all carry, you know, certain amounts of stress and can become overwhelming even if the things are good. And, you know, when you're overwhelmed, yeah, I think it's interesting how you phrased it, because in your mind at the time, they weren't all good things. Like moving maybe wasn't a good thing.
Right.
In your mind at the time, even though
Right.
hindsight now we know that it was that was a big negative stressor.
Mm-hmm.
But having a child, that's like the best kind of overwhelming that there is.
Right.
But when your frame of mind isn't in the right, like when your headspace isn't there, yeah, it makes it.
Yeah.
Making sense?
Yeah. And it's very interesting, like how the brain is so interesting and fascinating. And it's crazy how your brain, if it's not functioning properly, can completely change your perception of reality. And so like our house is beautiful. Our brother-in-law built our house, and it was a brand new house when we moved in. And I mean, the walls are all white and gorgeous. And to me, I was like, I'm living in this white, like all the walls are white and it's just terrible. And I need to get back home, and I'm living in the woods. And now I'm like, I don't want to be near neighbors. I love living in the woods. And so it's just like when your mind is not in a healthy place, it can be very detrimental. And so I really do encourage people that if you are feeling very low or helpless or super anxious, that you do seek help, because there are a lot of Dr. McHughs out there that want good for you and that can help you achieve that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm very grateful for her. She was probably the main reason why I didn't just move right back to Connecticut. And, yeah, again, like I love our life up here.
And then she moved away.
I know she's not here anymore, but, again, I've never been an outgoing person.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been very shy. I've never done groups. I feel like I have the most amount of friends I've ever had up here. Like, It's so funny when my parents come to visit me, we'll go to Nick and Brielle's cafe, and like everyone that walks through the door, I'm like, hey, hey, hey. And they're like, how do you know all these people?
Right.
And I do. I have a lot of mom friends. I have a lot of, I just love this community up here. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. And I do feel like it's because this community is primarily Christian and is spirit filled. And that was something that I never knew about before moving here.
Yeah. So in 2024, we welcomed our next little honey.
Yes.
Yeah. Gigi.
Our Giada.
And like, something about going from 1 to 2 is a hard transition a lot of times, because you're already dealing with a toddler and then you get a newborn.
Yeah.
Learning how to navigate that. Yeah, 2 under 2. And what is one thing that you're learning now? She's going to be 2 in a couple months.
Yeah.
Crazy. What?
I know. I'm so sad.
What is one thing that you're learning or have learned as you've progressed in your journey into motherhood?
I think the first year or even like 15 months of having 2 littles was really hard. And again, it goes back to hard is not bad. And now that Giada and Sienna are a little bit older, I feel like my days are a lot, quote unquote, easier. And so I would like to encourage new moms that, yes, the sleepless nights are hard. The tantrums are hard. Some days being a mom can be a little bit boring. Like, you're with littles and you do the same thing almost every day. And so somebody like me, who's a go-getter, who likes to go out and do things, it can be a little, like you wake up on Monday and then the same thing is happening on Tuesday. And so, if you feel like that, it's okay. Like, I think there is a stigma with motherhood that every part has to be beautiful and you have to enjoy every single moment. And I don't think that's always reality. Having 2 under 2 was challenging. And yeah, I would just encourage younger moms and also myself for the future when we do have more children to just give yourself grace during that time. They are going to get older and it does get a little bit easier and more manageable. And so, yeah, like there's even times where in the newborn stage, I would stress like, oh, they only want to nap in my arms. And if I lay them down, they wake up and you like think, oh my gosh, they're going to be like this forever and they're never going to sleep. Now, Sienna and Giada, they never fall asleep in my arms. And so just really try to know like you're doing the best that you can in those moments. It's good enough. You're doing a great job. And try to soak in those moments because they don't last very long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all perspective builder stuff, you know. When you're old, you're going to wish you had those hard moments back even when they were hard.
Right. Like they're actually not probably
about.
that hard.
Yep.
It just feels it in the moment because you're tired and, you know, it's a lot.
I had a thought. I'm trying to think of what it was because that kind of made me think, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's all so true. But in a few years, Sienna and Giada will watch this and be able to comprehend it, at least somewhat. What would you say to them in 5 or 10 years?
I could cry just thinking about it because they're just the best things ever in my life. I hope that they are experiencing joy in their everyday, and I hope that they know how much I love them and how proud I am of them, and that I can't wait to know who they are in 5 or 10 years.
Is that hard to say?
Yeah, because I'm picturing their little faces not being so little. They're really good girls, and I'm really grateful that I get to spend every day with them. It's the biggest blessing.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing while we're getting ready to wrap up here. What are you learning in marriage lately?
I am learning that I'm very quick to think that I know your intentions. And I have to work on that. So even, for instance, yesterday, I was making something in the crock pot and you asked what it was. And I gave you a very snippy response because I had it in my mind that you didn't like the ingredients I was putting in. But simply, you could have just been asking what I was making. And I think I do that a lot. So what I'm learning in marriage right now is don't be so quick to think you know what Brock's intentions are.
That's a good one. I think that's somewhere like I could always use improvement myself. I don't, most of the time you think you have people figured out and you just don't.
No, yeah.
That was a good example, but there was another example I was thinking of where you had said something to me, similar situation, and my thoughts immediately went to worst intention. Like, no, don't think about that. Yeah. Negative
if
intent.
I just could give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but primarily you, because obviously we're together.
Yeah.
All the time, it would just be so much better. Like, I don't know why our first, or at least my first thoughts tend to be more negative. And so like rewiring my brain to be more positive and try to give the person, specifically you, the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that's not so easy to do. Like, that is an area where I think we struggled and are working at giving each other grace, benefit of the doubt, and communicate well is something that, I mean, we've been married for 5 years, but just constantly room for improvement in all of these areas. And I think it's sometimes easy to neglect like that needs to be true with us first. Like that needs to be done primarily between you and I because it's the most important. And whereas we would be quicker to do that with somebody that we just see passing by or don't know as well.
Right.
And that seems so backwards to me. It's something I've been thinking about lately about, you and I, like you matter the most to me.
Right. Yeah.
And how quick it is.
I think we're hardest on the people that we love the most.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And again, we feel like we can be vulnerable with them. So like, you're not going to hate me if I'm snippy to you, but maybe the person that doesn't know me very well, if I'm snippy with them, that's it.
Yeah.
And so
you're more careful.
I'm more careful with them, even though of course it should be the opposite. I should be way more valuing your judgment and ideas on me than just a stranger.
Yeah. Was that always something that you were conscious of? Like nobody gave you a pamphlet 101 to marriage.
Yeah.
Here's how you do marriage right.
Yeah.
That's something that we've had to learn as we've been going, and we're continuing to learn. I'm interested to see what problems we'll have in the future and how we navigate those. I think that the more that we talked about this before, kind of stacking experience on top of experience in a positive way. I'm encouraged by that because we have lots of problems just like anybody else. And we're trying to work through them in an intentional way so that when something else bigger comes up, we're a unit and we know how to like deal with those things. Even having this discussion, I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, we've been through a lot. Like we got through a lot of things. We had dark days with the business too, where we didn't know if we were closing. Like we've had, it's been a struggle a lot of times. And I think I'm just encouraged by like, we're good. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I do.
It's a mindset battle.
Something I didn't really know before marrying you was that like marriage takes active practice and also active being very intentional and also communicating. So I just always thought, oh, you fight, you make up, you move on. But like, I didn't know, which sounds so dumb. Again, it's kind of like the routine thing I said before, like you should already know this, but like actually working through problems and being excited to find solutions to those problems. Like whatever area of marriage we might've struggled with 3 years ago, working through that and talking about it and figuring out what bothers you, what bothers me, what helps in that situation, and growing from it. Like I didn't really know that was a thing. And so you are very communicative. Did I say that word right?
Sure.
Communicative.
Communicative.
Now I'm second guessing myself.
You're the English major.
Anyway, you're very good at like, let's figure this out. Let's work on this. And so that is something that's very beneficial for me because I kind of just like let things go, get mad at something, move on. And you're like, no, we have to work on this. And so, yeah, I'm very thankful for that. Like, I think that we are pretty intentional with our marriage.
The intention behind me wanting to get things worked out is so that we don't have to have those problems over and over and over and over again for all of eternity. Also because I want us to be strong unit because life's easier when you're strong with your partner.
Right, because we're probably going to face much harder things than we have in the past. And so, yeah, just building our relationship up to be able to withstand that, like, yeah, is very important. And I think you're not a very, like, complacent person. Like, you don't just, like, stagnate.
Me?
Yes. And which is good because you're not just the person that's going to do the same thing every day, act the same way in the relationship, expect the same outcomes. And I think that's really good because life doesn't work that way. So one day might be very different than the next day. And you have to be able to handle and react to those situations. And so as a couple, I think you do a good job preparing us to be able to handle different things together.
Yeah. Being proactive is better than being reactionary.
Yeah.
You know, action is faster than reaction. So I think that's just my whole mindset. Like we have to prepare ourselves for the difficulties that life brings and there could be a lot harder things on the horizon for us that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't want that to shake us.
Yeah.
I want us to be solid and firm in our faith and firm in our communication and our relationship with each other. I think the fruit from that are good things. I want the girls to see that. I want my children to see that. But there's so many more areas of marriage that I'm consistently working on in like right now.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of areas.
I think you actively want to make sure that we're better when we're 80 together than we even are today. Like,
Well, yeah, because when the girls are gone and it's just us, like I want us to be there.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Always thinking.
But yeah, it's always back to us. Like, without us, we wouldn't have children, and hopefully we're able to have more children down the road. But again, like, their lives are going to, they're going to have their own lives one day. And hopefully we're a big part of that. But again, like, the focus has to be me and you. And the girls need to see that too, so that they can have healthy relationships down the road. And stability in the home is so important. And so teaching them what a healthy relationship is and how to handle stress and hard situations in a healthy way is really something that I'm like diving deep into right now. I just think that from a very young age, you have to set those foundations. So
the biggest challenge for me recently has been the importance of modeling good behavior. And like, that is, if anybody's got that figured out, they can let me know, because I'm constantly thinking about what it looks like to represent my actions to my wife in love, so that the children see that, and those are the relationship qualities they want replicated with their future husbands or their future spouses. Right. And I guess the goal is kind of harmony, but also the path of getting better and really serving somebody else. I mean, that's a common theme in the podcast, especially in the last 10 episodes or so, maybe 10, 15 episodes. It's like, hey, go ahead and try to serve your spouse. See how life works out for you. Like, I promise you, it's going to work out pretty good.
Right.
Like, that is the whole point of marriage. It's not just a relationship. It's so much deeper than that. Like, it's dying to yourself,
right,
and giving yourself to somebody else who then returns the same thing.
Yep.
Almost like instinctually. And I think that that's just something that's in us, that's been created in us. Like, hey, we serve a God who modeled these things for us in Jesus when he was here.
Right.
And said, here's how you serve one another, and outline that very clear to us, and just the unbelievable benefits that you can get from that if you seek it out.
Yeah.
And that is a constant challenge, something I'm thinking about a lot. So
and just
keep me accountable if you can.
But just in like the world, there's so much chaos in the outside world that in our home, we don't need that chaos. Like, you and I don't need chaos in our relationship. The girls don't need to see chaos. We can be stable for each other and also for them. And I think that's really, really important. My main job, I've been trying to tell myself just the last few weeks, is to get my children into heaven. Or not to get them into heaven, but to teach them. My main focus is that my children will go to heaven one day. And so I want to do everything that I can to teach them healthy lifestyles, a relationship with the Lord, show them what a healthy marriage looks like, what stability looks like, teach them how to be confident and steadfast and hold true to what they believe is right. And I think that all relates back to me and your relationship and how to model that for them. Yeah,
it's constant battles against the flesh, right? It's constant. We talked about assuming intent earlier, and that's the flesh. We talked about selfishness, that's the flesh. And how do we keep that in mind in our daily lives to not choose that, to choose the heart, to choose the spirit. And yeah, the ultimate goal is that our children can do better than us, can go on and know the Lord. Like that's the number one goal, that they would know the Lord. And oh yeah, a lot of really good stuff to think about. Good challenging stuff. I'm excited about it. Because you're right, the world's an unstable place. And I want them to be confident in their abilities and who they are and and their value and stuff like that. So anything else?
It's easier said.
Yes, nice job. I didn't even have to tell you to say that. Well, good. I mean, this has been wonderful. I hope you've had a good time.
I have. Thank you for
I know it's
having
a
me.
long drive to our studio that's at our house.
Now I get to go put my PJs on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it. You're the
Love
best.
you.
All right. Love you too. All right, folks. That's it for us. Appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.